Hi, it's Paul from Model Builder International. The first thing you need to do is remember to subscribe to the channel. Once you've done that, we'll talk about a Mig-15UTI 1/72nd scale from Platz. Okay, so let's have a look inside the box. Well, to start with, this is Edwards plastic inside, so it's pretty easy to say that this is the most modern Mig-15UTI set of sprues out there, and it's been reboxed by quite a few people. Basically, we sort of know that just by the fact it's Edwards, it's going to be some pretty good sprues inside, and a pretty good kit. Looking at the outside of the box, I can see Platz have added nose weights. And basically they've given you a set of nose weights in here already, and obviously cartograph decals, Finnish Air Force, which is, I don't think anybody's done a Finnish Air Force option before. So on the sides here you can see there's a Finnish Air Force and a Polish Air Force option, which is pretty neat. Oops, one from 1960, one from 1988. Obviously the MiG-15 had a really long life. What else we got on the sides? That one, a couple of photographs of a finished Finnish aircraft. On the end, it's just photographing. On the bottom here, Platz are doing this more and more with basically a stand. So you can cut all this together, glue it all together, and you've got a stand. So you can something to put the aircraft on, basically when you've built the aircraft but haven't got the wheels on yet. So let's open it up, have a look inside. What we've also got in here, and I'll say this is not part of the kit, this is something you can buy extra. So it doesn't come as part of the kit, but we'll have a look at those as well. This is what comes in the box. Basically the sprues are all nice and tidy, all bagged up together. You can see the delicate parts are separate. There's the metal parts, shaped nicely so they fit inside the aircraft, a decal sheet. And then we have decal options. Actually, there's 4 decal choices. There's 2 Finnish ones and 2 Polish ones. That's pretty neat. And there's the instructions on glossy paper, shows you how to use the stand. It's used for when you're painting or for transporting, and then the instructions nice and straightforward. So I'll open up the bag, we'll have a quick look. Okay, so everything is really nicely bagged. So clear parts, they're in their own bag. As you can see, usual typical Edward with the circular pattern. Obviously those look really nice just by eye. We'll do some photographs of those, have some close-ups. Then in another separate bag is these 2 sprues. These we've got very nice recessed panel lines and details. There's the wing fences. Looks like instrument panel there, perhaps. Looks like some dials. Might be wrong. Small parts there. We'll get into, looks like part of the cockpit. This could be part of the engine with some detail on the outside. Some very nice fine detail in there. And this part was inside the bigger bag. So everything was sealed, nothing could move, nothing can get damaged. Again, fine panel lines on the outside there, lots of nice detail. So it all looks typical Edward quality, very nice. We'll have a close look at the weights and the decals in the next part of the video. And I'll just go through these things which Platz have also produced for these. These are done in association with Edward as well, I believe. Yeah, there's Edward's marks on here. So you can also, if you can't get these from Platz, you could also buy them from Edward. Canopy masks, that's the cockpit set. And then this looks like an exterior set. and this looks very much like air brakes. So there's 3 PE sets and a canopy masks as well for this. So looks like quite an impressive little kit. Yeah, so let's go through the instructions, have a close look at some of the parts. So as I said before, this kit is 86 parts on 3 sprues and 11 clear parts, a few of which are not used, just over a dozen. I'll put the pictures of the sprues up here. As you can see, the detail is quite nice. We'll have some close-ups of these as we go through the steps. You'll have a few pieces left over at the end of the build, some slipper tanks as well, which would be good. Level of detail is very good, attachment points are good. All in all, a typical Edward kit. So we'll start off with basically step 1, the first diagram, and you actually get quite a lot done in this. You do start off with putting the seats together from a couple of parts, then you're putting the cockpit together. The instrument panel has raised detail on it to paint. Don't forget there's also photo etch available from Platz and Edward for this kit. There's sidewall detail on the 2 halves of the cockpit that go in there. There's also nose weights, which are contoured to fit inside recesses in the cockpit. So you don't have to think about that and wonder where you can start squeezing things in and gluing them to keep the nose wheel on the ground. And then finally you put the 2 halves of the fuselage together. So as I said, you've got a lot of the kit is together after this first step. Step 2, pretty straightforward, putting the 2 wing halves together. Don't forget that you'll need to drill out some holes if you're going to put fuel tanks under the wings. It says there a 0.8mm drill should do the trick. The detail on the wings is very nice. Step 3 at the bottom middle of instructions is putting the wings onto the main fuselage, the last parts of the tail, the nose parts go together along with some other small parts in the cockpit. So again, nice and straightforward. The next step is putting together the fuel tanks, and depending which decal option you're going to go for, either finish or polish, determines which pair of fuel tanks you need to put together. Step 5 is undercarriage. Basically put the undercarriage together. You get 2 choices of wheel hubs by the looks of it. So the actual, the rubber of the wheel is the same for both, but you get different wheel hubs. And there's some nice detail on the inside of the undercarriage doors. Okay, so the next step is what they assume is after you've painted the aircraft and possibly put the decals on, but I'll cover the decals separately. So once the aircraft's together, then you're now at the stage of attaching the undercarriage legs you did earlier and basically putting the main undercarriage on. Next step is a quick one, putting in the nose undercarriage wheel and the door and a couple of small parts underneath the aircraft as well. The penultimate step is the canopy, and it looks like it's in 2 parts, and you can fit the canopies either in the open or the closed position. And the final step of the build is putting your choice of underwing fuel tanks on, if you've decided to add them, and adding on a few small pieces that undoubtedly would get knocked off otherwise. And I think there's a clear part to go on there as well, so basically that finishes the build off. So we'll talk about decals and paint schemes next. Paints are called out throughout the build in Mr. Colour and Model Master. The decal options, basically they're listed as A, B, C, D, so looking at this 4, but there's actually a lot more because decal option A is actually one of 4 aircraft. So you could actually build 5 different finish versions. Option A is one of the 4 aircraft that they had from 1960. Option B is MU3 from 1963. Option C is a white Polish aircraft from 1988. And option D is an aluminium, a metal finished aircraft from 1988 as well. So all in all, there's a few more decal options there than you'd like. I know Edward and one other company have covered finished decal options, but nobody's given you all of the options in one set. The only way to do that otherwise is an aftermarket decal sheet that does exist for these. But it's nice to have all the possible Finnish aircraft in one box. Well, I'm not sure what happened to the other 3 aircraft by the time 1963 came round. Okay, so let's have a look at the aftermarket that's available for this kit. Here's a picture of the cockpit photo etch, and I'll put up diagrams just to quickly show you what you can do with this. This one adds the seat belts and replaces the instrument panel inside the cockpit, and it also adds to the sidewalls as well. So that's pretty neat. And then the next one is, let's have a look at the air brake thread. And what that one does is obviously adds air brakes to the aircraft. So you'd have to do some research, see how they look when they're on the ground. The next one is we've got the masking set. So have a quick look here. Basically the usual thing, they give you the edges and you fill it in yourself. And then last but not least, we have the exterior set, which adds some details in the undercarriage bays, as you can see here, and in a few other places on the aircraft as well, as you can see here. So overall, they'll add some nice detail on the aircraft. So an overall conclusion, it's pretty straightforward really. The best set of sprues on the market right now for a Mig-15UTI is the Edward ones. That's the ones used here, so that makes it easy. You've got some nice interesting decal options. Mig-15s usually come in silver or silver. You've got a white option in here, that will look different. You get some extras for this as well. There's the metal contoured nose weights designed to fit inside the recesses in the cockpit. And you've got the stand that comes as part of the box that you can actually just put it together with cocktail sticks to basically hold it while you're building. And don't forget there's the photo etch and masks available from Platz and Eduard as well. So all in all, it's a great kit. Many thanks to Platz for sending it along for us to have a look at.